This is an open letter to my American friends, many of whom have been, told, and many of whom have been repeating this, what they've been told, as which states that socialism doesn't work, communism doesn't work, socialism doesn't work, and that's it, that's that. And we have seen it, we have evidence that it doesn't work. And the rich people in America who control the media have been, telling the media to repeat this lie, and I will get to why it's a lie. And average folks have been telling the same lie to each other and repeating it and repeating it, as if repeating something over and over again makes it true. Just because enough people repeat it and believe it, that must be true. A lot like religion. Here's the thing, folks. I'm not going to talk about communism. That's a different story. But socialism, it doesn't work if the superpower capitalist of the world doesn't want it to work. I repeat again, socialism will not work if the superpower capitalist, which is the opposite economic understanding of opposite economy, doesn't want socialism to work. So it prevents it from working because it's because Uncle Sam is a superpower militarily and economically. So Uncle Sam can make any country not work. Let's put it this again, I repeat, Uncle Sam can make any country not work by not cooperating with that country, period. Through sanctions and blockades, and eventually, if nothing works out, Cold War. Hot war, Cold War, any kind of war. So if Uncle Sam doesn't want a system to work, Uncle Sam, has within his mean to prevent the system from working. In this case, Uncle Sam doesn't like socialism. Why? Because the rich people who actually run Uncle Sam's business don't like socialism. Because, it's the rich people have so many privileges because of capitalism. Once you take capitalism away, the rich people will lose all those privileges. The privilege of treating everybody like shit. The privilege of seeing yourself above the peasants. That privilege only comes with capitalism. You have the more of these tokens that you have, let's consider money as a token. And the more of these tokens that you have, the more powerful you are. And if you have enough of those tokens, I guess you're more powerful than God. You can treat those who don't have this token to eat. You can treat them like peasants. You can treat them like shit. And when it comes down to it, they say, okay, socialism, it didn't work in Russia. I'm not going to talk about Russia, Soviet Union, because that's a totally different creature altogether. Because as we can see right now, it's capitalist, and still their system is basically run by, who's the boss, and they need one boss, and there is a czar, and everybody says, stands at attention in front of the czar. And even now, that is not a socialist or communist. still a little, a little totalitarian, uh, and a little, security services and the army and the police is running everything. Very, very strict, a very police state, in your face kind of police state. And I think the problem with it wasn't their economic model that brought Soviet Union down so much. Well, their economic model came down because of pressure from the superpower capitalist Uncle Sam. But their political power was not working out because in Russia, the way their culture is and the way their history is, you need a strong leader who puts all dissent down to keep control over such a unruly people, such a tough, rowdy people, and that's the way their system works. So, and Gorbachev and others, a few before Gorbachev, were weak. They weren't weak in the Western sense, they were weak in the Russian sense. They need a big penis to rule that land, and it doesn't work out if there is no, if there is a pleasant, systems in Russia will not work if the leader is pleasant. Gorbachev was, I'm sure he was a very nice man, but as we can see, nice men, can't rule Russia. That aside, let's put Russia and Soviet Union aside. But as far as socialism not working, that's just a total lie. What is socialism? Socialism is basically capitalism with a conscience. Basically saying that, okay, capitalism is fine, whoever has more money or can have better things, access to more privileges, more amenities, but we need to have a minimum standard of living for average folks, peasants. So we won't have condition like India where half the population is eating and shitting and sleeping in the street. That's all socialism says, and the reason India is like that is India more or less has been capitalist since the British took over and continues to be capitalist. And if you want to really find out what capitalism is, what capitalism will end in, you can see it in India. Just take a trip to India, or watch a couple of documentaries about India, and you find out what capitalism what is the real end result of capitalism can be if it's worked out to the nth degree. So, which is unfortunately many of the Western capitalist countries are going may if they continue on their path to capitalism, they may end up looking a lot like India. The reason that the Western capitalists, the Western Europe and North America don't look like India is because they have taken a lot of wealth from Africa and Asia and other South America and other countries. A lot of wealth have gone to these pink skin lands, so they have been able to stay capitalist and still have not the streets look like the streets of India with people sleeping all over the place. But as you can see, sleeping and eating and shitting all over the place. But as you can see, it's starting to happen in many places in Uncle Sam's land and in Europe and in England and in France, that many of the locals, now that there is less money coming through the colonial process of subjugating and stealing from the other countries, and other countries are rising up a little and standing up for their rights. There is less money going into the colonial power such as the British, so the numbers, their poor numbers keep rising. and their homeless number keep rising, because this is capitalism. Either you have to go steal from other countries to, have all your people have a more or less a little standard of living, or if you're not stealing from other countries, whatever money there is, whatever wealth there is within the borders of one country, that wealth is eventually going to find its way up the ladder to a few people on top, and the rest at the bottom are going to be going to be homeless and hungry and helpless and uneducated. And the capitalist keeps telling people, like Mr. Trump did, keep telling people that no, you need more money, we have to go get more money in the Middle East, we have to go and start another war and steal their stuff and bring it here and distribute it between our peasants, so our peasants have money. So basically what the capitalist says, the capitalist on top of a capitalist system, such as the capitalist running the Uncle Sam's show here, basically say, we don't want to share what we have with our peasants within the borders of this land. That's what the British capitalists are telling their own peasants. We don't want to share what we have with the peasants of this land, but the peasants can go fight overseas and grab whatever loot they can, and if our nation here in Britain can steal enough loot, then we can bring back that loot back and distribute it between our peasants. But we the rich, we are not going to share what we have with our peasants. That has always have been the imperial system, has been always like that the rich people at top do not want to do not want to share the wealth within the nation. They just tell the poor people to go and fight for your own share overseas. Go fight some brown and yellow and black people overseas and grab their loot. Don't touch our loot, grab their loot. Anyway, here's the thing. Socialism does not work as long as Uncle Sam and NATO and Western European allies don't want it to work. Venezuela is not working, not because the government is not because the socialism doesn't work. Venezuela doesn't work because all of European Union and United States and Canada, all the pink skins, have decided not to cooperate with Venezuela, have sanctioned Venezuela, have blockaded Venezuela. Basically, they're strangling Venezuela, and then at the same time they're telling their own people that you see Venezuela, it's not working. Socialism doesn't work. Well, if you strangle it, it's not gonna work. It's gonna die. It's sort of like, it's like tying the guy down and telling everybody that you see the guy is lazy, he won't get up. Well, you tied it down. Of course it can't get up because you tied it down. Sanctions, blockades, not trading, not dealing, not talking, no communication, nothing. Just because your system of economy doesn't suit us, we don't like your system of economy, so we're going to blockade you. We don't like your system of economy because so we're going to sanction you, we're not going to trade with you, we're going to pull all our companies out, everything. Just because we need to show that your system doesn't work. Well, of course, if you stop dealing with these guys, of course it's going to stop working. If you're going to tie the guy down, of course the guy can't get up and work or produce because you're tying the motherfucker down. So they're putting the cart before the horse. They're lying to you that socialism doesn't work. My pink-skinned friends, who are peasant pink-skinned friends, they're lying that socialism doesn't work. So socialism does work. That's just basically capitalism with a social conscience. That means providing a basic dignified life to even the peasants, the bottom rung of the society. It does work. It doesn't work if all the main nations of the world, the capitalists, stop cooperating. That's the only way socialism doesn't work. That's the only way even the most capitalist country, if when I say everybody, I mean, the planet Earth has apparently has turned, the pink skins have turned the planet Earth into a mafia, in which with Uncle Sam as the leader of the mafia, and Uncle Sam decides that no, we don't like that system, so guys, nobody deal with that system, and we don't like those people, and guys, nobody would deal with those people. Basically, it's a very, the guy, Uncle Sam, I love you, man, I love him, but he's got a big penis, and the people in charge of Uncle Sam's business, Uncle Sam's penis, these people decide that we don't want to cooperate with these, so nobody else should cooperate with them, deal with them, talk with them, trade with them. We don't want to deal with these, so nobody else should deal with them, cooperate with them, talk with them. And they come up with all kinds of reasons. Usually the reasoning is they're not democratic. And listen to me, Uncle Sam. If you're dealing with Saudi Arabia, if Saudi Arabia is one of your best friends, Uncle Sam, you can't object to anybody's form of government, because Saudi Arabia is it's the absolute monarchy where people, when the government still chops people's heads off every Friday, they chop a couple of heads off after the prayers on Fridays, just to make sure the population know how who's the boss. So if you have Saudi Arabia in your paradigm of friends, and then you can't object to anybody else's form of government. You can't say the Venezuelan form of government is bad when you have Saudi Arabia in your friends list. Uncle Sam was the last friend that South Africa had. Uncle Sam was the last friend of South Africa, the apartheid South Africa. So I'm sorry, Uncle Sam, if you have South Africa in your list of friends, had South Africa in your list of friends, up to the hilt, up to the end, if you still have all these shitty Arabian kingdoms who have no regards for their people's welfare, level of poverty, freedom of any kind, have no regards for such things, and you still have them in your friends list, good friends list, then Uncle Sam, you're in no position, you're in absolutely no position to say that other countries are bad, because nobody is as bad as these Arabian shitholes. Nobody was as bad as South African apartheid. Nobody was as bad as Chile's Pinochet, which you were instrumental in bringing him to power, Uncle Sam. Pinochet in Chile, or Mobutu Sese Seko in Congo, in Africa, or most of these dictators around the world were, Uncle Sam was instrumental in bringing them in power. So you can't say that, we don't like, we are not cooperating with somebody like Venezuela, because Venezuela is no, it's not democratic. No, it's absolute shit. Dude, you're cooperating with Saudi Arabia. It's not worse than Saudi Arabia. As far as being racist and apartheid, you can't find at worse than the current system that is running in West Asia, what they call Palestine or Israel or whatever its name is going to be tomorrow. or what his name was yesterday, or whatever his name was during the Neanderthal time, whatever his name was during the Homo sapien time, whatever his name was during the Homo erectus times, whatever that area of West Asia, East Mediterranean, that area, whatever its name has been over the past 2 million years, currently is a little apartheid dish. Very, very, very racist-ish. I love my Jewish friends. I love the Jewish folks. But that area is basically, it's a pink skin kind of a deal. This is pink skin land. It's a new Americas. The pink skins have gone in and are trying to run the locals over in the Americas. The locals were red skin, and and over West Asia the locals are brown skin. The pink skins have gone in and they're trying to push the brown skins out. Die or get out. So here's the thing about socialism. Venezuela will work beautifully if Uncle Sam stops, and the Europeans more or less trying to cooperate with Cuba, but especially the Anglo-Saxon harmony here, the Anglo-Saxon ink is against any kind of, treating the locals as a human being. What is socialism? Socialism is treating the peasants as humans, dignifying the peasants. That's what socialism is. Dignifying, giving dignity to the peasants. That's what socialism is. So, and socialism, because Uncle Sam can't touch Sweden and Norway and Germany, all these countries, all of them are pretty much socialist. Northern Europe is pretty much socialist. Even the British are half-ass socialist. They have the NHS, National Health Service. Everybody can have access to health. Even the British. Even the fucking British. So socialism works. It's the only way to go forward. It's just that countries, some of the countries, especially not pink skin countries, Uncle Sam cannot touch pink skin countries. But anybody who's not pink skin, the brown skin countries like Venezuela, like Iran, like Korea, the yellow skins, like African countries who try socialism because they want to give some dignity to their peasants, America is totally against. Uncle Sam is totally against. Oh, that's socialism. That's totalitarianism. You can't have any more totalitarian than a fucking kingdom in the Arabian Peninsula. But you're okay with that, Uncle Sam? You're okay with the totalitarian regimes in the Arabian Peninsula? All of them, all of those shitty kingdoms who don't give any kind of dignity to their peasants. But you're against socialism, which its base, its ideal is to giving some kind of dignity, basic dignity to all the peasants. You're against that, Uncle Sam. So this, when I say Uncle Sam, I don't mean Uncle Sam, I mean the managers who are currently running Uncle Sam's show. So my pink-skinned friends in Northern Europe, in Americas, my pink-skinned friends, socialism does work. So socialism is eventually, has to be adapted by everyone, because it just gives some level of dignity to the peasants, so they can get on their feet and, find a useful thing to do with their life. But you cannot, have people living on the street and eating on the street and shedding on the street and have them, try to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. If they don't have a boot, they can't pull themselves up with the bootstraps. They need to have the boot. You need to provide them with a good education. In this case, for example, when you say socialism, means good educational system. That's socialism. Excellent educational system. You can consider an educational system as the boot in the proverb of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. You can consider having an excellent social educational system as providing the fucking people, fucking peasants, with at least boots. Give them a good education, give them some boots, then ask them to pull themselves up by the bootstrap. You can't just, no food, no shelter, no health, no education, pull yourself up by the fucking bootstraps. There is no boot. When there is no food, no healthcare, no education, no shelter, there is no boot to pull themselves up with. The most important aspect of pulling yourself up is education. An educational system, both in the British Island and in Uncle Sam's land, is not good. There is no money being spent on education. There is a $150,000 Javelin missile that is used to blow up a couple of goats in deserts of Iraq, but there is no money for education. And these people apparently have to pull themselves up by their penis because they don't have boots, because they don't have education. No, folks, socialism does work. The eventuality is going to be socialism, because look at it this way. Amazon, Mr. Bezos, basically, he has created a situation that even Walmart has to pack it in. Is going out of business. It's like average rich folks who were having some kind of, running some kind of business, having some kind of income through retail, they have to pack it in. I'm not saying Bezos is wrong, because it is what it is. Efficiency is the objective of, every system. More efficient, better. Everything, every system, everything, every intelligence system is seeking more and more efficiency. So we can't go back in time and say, okay, no, let's go back to, brick and mortar retail, just because, to employ people. That can't happen. But if this is efficiency and this is capitalism mixing with efficiency, so you have one man running the whole retail of 350 million people in the United States. Slowly he's moving to running 300 million people retail in Mexico, 40 million people in Canada, in Brazil, in South America. Pretty soon the whole American continent is going to be run, retail of the whole American continent is going to be run by a few men, one of them being Mr. Bezos. So what's the solution? The solution is socialism. Basically, run Bezos out of town, and a government entity take over the running of something like Amazon. You end up with socialism, because you cannot have one person who can buy and sell 20 presidents at a time. Let's put it this way: if Mr. Bezos starts being interested in politics, he can buy all the senators and replace them with whoever he wants. And as if not, this hasn't been happening up to now. It has been happening up to now. But a few rich people had this senators, and a few rich people got together and got that senator, and a few rich people got together and got this senator. Just imagine now all those few people go away because they don't have enough money, enough capital to compete with one person. So they have to go away, and one person buys all the senators. Now what? No, folks, socialism works even the Cuban system, you want to call it communist, you want to call it socialist. First of all, please don't tell me the United States, Uncle Sam has issue dealing with the Cubans, because the Cubans are totalitarian, they're dictatorship, they're this, they're that, the other. Oh, Uncle Sam doesn't have any problem with dictators. Uncle Sam has dealt with boatloads of, is dealing with boatloads of dictators all over the world. As long as these dictators take orders from Uncle Sam doesn't have any problem with dictators. As long as they take orders well, at least from Uncle Sam. They can do whatever the fuck they want with their own people and their own society. As long as they take orders from Uncle Sam does not have any problem with dictators. Period. End of story. So, not dealing with Cuba was not because it was a dictatorship. Chile was dictatorship, and Uncle Sam was instrumental in making a dictatorship under Pinochet. Half the countries of South America were dictatorship at one time or another, and all of them were, created that way, pushed in that direction by Uncle Sam. So Uncle Sam, not only Uncle Sam likes dictatorship, sometimes Uncle Sam, is instrumental in creating dictatorships. So it's not that. The reason Cuba, so it's not the dictatorship because it's a dictatorship that Uncle Sam doesn't deal with Cuba. It's the socialism aspect. Uncle Sam doesn't want Cuba to work because Uncle Sam doesn't want socialism to work. So Uncle Sam blockades anybody with any kind of socialist agenda because giving dignity to peasants is not... Uncle Sam might be interested in that, but the people in charge of Uncle Sam's penis, they're not. And those are the rich people. The rich people of North America are not really interested in giving any kind of dignity even to the American peasants. Forget about the brown peasants and the green peasants and the yellow peasants in Southeast Asia. I'm talking about Vietnam. I'm talking about brown people of Middle East in Iraq. I'm talking about the brown people of Honduras and Guatemala. Uncle Sam's rich people are not interested in giving even basic dignity to the American peasants. Why would an American rich individual who's involved in decision making, involved in choosing the decision makers of Uncle Sam, why would he be interested in giving some kind of dignity to Venezuelan peasants, to the African peasants, to the Egyptian peasants, to the Iraqi peasants, to the Vietnamese peasants? These peasants are not even pink-skinned, so they're not interested in that. They don't accept the rich people in North America. They don't accept that peasants should have any kind of dignity, not even pink-skinned peasants. And they stimulate the pink-skinned peasants in North America to go fight the brown and the red and the yellow to put them down, so they would not be expecting any kind of dignity. It's just manipulation to prevent everybody, all the peasants, from obtaining any kind of dignity. That's it. That's the whole purpose of the rich people and institutions that these rich people have erected in North America, is to prevent any peasant from obtaining any kind of dignity, from having any kind of dignity, be it pink skin or be it even worse, the brown and the yellow and the black skins of the rest of the planet. All these motherfuckers should live without dignity. And that's the whole purpose of that. That's why capitalism is so loved by these rich folks, and and the media that they control, is because just the thought of giving any kind of dignity to peasants, pink skin or otherwise, is just revolting to them. They think, they should have all the privilege and the peasants should have none of the privilege. Nothing. And socialism is against that. Socialism believes everybody should be living with dignity. And so the rich institutions and rich people in North America do everything they can to blockade any country that goes in the socialist way, blockade them, sanction them, in order to prevent them from working. Prevent those systems from working, so they can, show those systems to their peasants, to their own peasants, to their pink-skinned peasants, and tell them that, see, socialism doesn't work. So don't ask for socialism. Because you see, socialism doesn't work. Socialism doesn't work because you're blockading it. You're sanctioning it. You're trying your best. You're closing your banks to it. You're closing your companies to it. You're preventing your corporations from cooperating. You're doing your best for it not to work. That's why socialism doesn't work, because you're going out of your way to make it not work. Or else, if you treat socialist countries as you treat everybody else, socialist countries will work. Israel was started by kibbutz, which are socialist communes. They're communes. It's just in the heart of socialism, by farms which were run as communes called kibbutz. Of course socialism works. Of course it does. It's just, if you strangle it, of course it won't. If you're strong enough and you're able to strangle the socialist communities, they will stop working. Yeah, but socialism works as long as you leave it alone and you treat it like you treat other forms of economies. It will work, and it has to work. That's the future. That, or we are going to be all countries are going to look like India in 10, 20, 30 years.